I still remember the exact sound it made. My glass award, the one with my name etched into it. The one I'd spent 3 years earning hitting the marble floor of the Westbrook Hotel ballroom. The crash silenced every conversation within 50 feet. Champagne glasses froze midair. 200 pairs of eyes locked onto me, standing there in my black dress I'd spent half a month's rent on, while Warren loomed over me, his face twisted with rage. "You ungrateful little bitch," he hissed, just loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. "You're finished here." My hands trembled as I stared at the shattered pieces that caught the chandelier light like diamonds scattered across the floor. 3 years of 60-hour weeks. 3 years of missed birthdays and canceled dates. 3 years of building something from nothing. All broken because I wouldn't give him what wasn't his to take. My name is Eliza Reeves. I was 32 when everything I'd built came crashing down, and then, rising from those same broken pieces, everything changed. Before I go further, please like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to know who's listening to the story I've never told anyone outside my closest circle. I wasn't always in corporate sales. I started as a theater major with big dreams and empty pockets. When student loans came due and auditions led nowhere, I took what was supposed to be a temporary job at Meridian Consulting. Just until something opens up on Broadway, I told my parents. That temporary job became permanent when I discovered I had a talent for connecting with people. Not the forced, plastic way many salespeople do, but genuinely. I listened. I remembered details. I followed up. I cared. For 5 years, I built a respectable client roster. Nothing spectacular, but stable. Then came the Landon account. Landon wasn't just any potential client. They were the white whale of our industry, a family-owned manufacturing company that had exploded into a national brand. They'd cycled through 3 consulting firms in 2 years, finding each one too impersonal, too corporate. They're impossible to please. Warren told me during a Monday morning meeting, sliding their file across his desk. "But you're good with the difficult ones, Eliza. See what you can do." What Warren meant was, "This is probably a waste of time, but you're expendable enough to try." I spent weeks researching Landon, not just their business metrics or market position, but the people. Catherine Landon had started the company in her garage 30 years ago. Her son Michael now ran operations but struggled with the marketing side. They valued loyalty above all else. They'd rather work with someone honest who made occasional mistakes than a polished team that treated them like just another account. My first meeting with Michael Landon was scheduled for 30 minutes. We talked for 3 hours. "You know what I like about you, Eliza?" he said as we wrapped up. "You didn't spend the whole time telling me how great you are. You asked about us. That's rare these days. We didn't sign anything that day, or the next meeting, or the one after that. I didn't push. Instead, I sent Michael relevant articles about his industry. I remembered his daughter's soccer championship and asked about it. When they had a minor PR crisis 6 months into our relationship, I dropped everything on a Saturday to help draft statements, all before they'd paid us a single dollar. "Are you still wasting time on Landon?" Warren asked during my performance review. "You know we bill for results, not friendship bracelets." A week later, Michael called me. "We're ready," he said. "Send over the contract." The Landon account was worth just over $2 million annually. It wasn't just the biggest account I'd ever landed. It was the biggest new client our office had secured in 5 years. Warren's attitude changed overnight. Suddenly, I wasn't just lucky or too soft with clients. I was a core team member and exemplary of our values. My bonus that year was substantial. My parking spot moved closer to the entrance. Warren invited me to golf with potential clients. For almost 2 years, things were good. The Landon account grew. I built a small team to help manage their expanding needs. Michael referred 2 smaller companies to us. I was finally paying off my student loans instead of just managing the interest. Then Tyler arrived. Tyler Keller, Warren's nephew, fresh out of business school with a degree he'd barely earned and an attitude he hadn't earned at all. "Tyler's going to shadow various team members," Warren announced during a staff meeting. "He's got tremendous potential. Harvard Business School." He said the name with religious reverence. Tyler shadowed our media buyer for 2 days, our data analyst for 3, and then appeared at my office door. Uncle Warren says I should learn how you handle the Landon account, he said, not bothering with hello. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent and couldn't have been more than 25. I walked Tyler through our processes. I explained Michael Landon's communication preferences, the company's history, their concerns about market expansion. Tyler nodded, barely taking notes. Seems pretty straightforward, he said, scrolling through his phone. Basically just relationship maintenance, right? Not exactly rocket science. The following week, Warren called me into his office. I've been thinking, he said, leaning back in his chair. Tyler showed real insight into the Landon account. I think he's ready to take point on it. My stomach dropped. Warren. Tyler spent less than 6 hours looking at the account. Michael Landon specifically requested me as their lead consultant in the contract. Warren's smile tightened. Contracts can be amended. Tyler has fresh ideas for them. Harvard thinking. Besides, you're spread too thin. This would free you up to pursue new clients. I'm not spread thin, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. And the Landon account is sensitive. Michael values consistency. Are you suggesting my nephew isn't capable? Warren's tone shifted. Because I'd hate to think you're the type who doesn't support developing new talent. That night, I called my mother. She'd worked in corporate America for 30 years before retiring. They want to push you out of your own account, she said immediately. The nephew gets the commission, you get nothing. Tale as old as time. What do I do? Document everything, she said. And hold your ground. They're hoping you'll just hand it over without a fight. For the next month, I navigated a careful path. I didn't refuse outright, but I created obstacles. I emphasized to Warren how Michael Landon expected me personally to attend meetings. I mentioned truthfully that the contract specified me by name. Tyler's shadowing became more aggressive. He started emailing Michael directly, copying me as an afterthought. He scheduled meetings with Landon's marketing team without informing me. When Michael asked me about it, I had to pretend I knew. What's going on? Michael finally asked me over lunch. This kid keeps contacting us directly. Is there something I should know? I made a split-second decision that would change everything. Michael, I need to be transparent with you. I said, the company is trying to transition your account to Warren's nephew. I've been fighting it because I value our working relationship, but I wanted you to hear it from me. Michael put down his fork. Do you know why we chose your firm, Eliza? Because of you. We'd been through 3 firms of interchangeable consultants who treated us like a revenue stream. You treated us like people. The annual company gala was approaching, our biggest client appreciation event of the year. Awards would be presented, including one for me, Relationship Builder of the Year, specifically citing my work with Landon. Michael had agreed to attend as my guest. 3 days before the gala, Warren called me in again. I've been patient, Eliza, he said, no pretense of friendliness remaining. Tyler will be taking over the Landon account effective next month. I've already spoken to legal about amending the contract. Have you spoken to Michael Landon? I asked. Warren's eyes narrowed. That's not how we do things here. We decide staffing internally, then present a united front to clients. I can't agree to this, Warren. It's not in the client's best interest. Your cooperation isn't required, he said coldly. Just your professionalism during the transition. The night of the gala arrived. I wore a black dress I'd splurged on, feeling I deserved something special after the year I'd had. Michael Landon and his wife Catherine were seated at my table, along with Warren, Tyler, and several other executives. The awards portion began. I received my glass trophy, a beautiful hand-etched piece with my name and achievement. The presenter mentioned the Landon account specifically, noting the extraordinary client relationship I'd cultivated. Michael and Catherine applauded loudly. As I returned to my seat, I noticed Warren's face. He wasn't clapping. He was seething. During dinner, Warren made his move. Michael, he said loudly enough for the table to hear, I wanted to personally tell you how excited we are to have Tyler taking over as your primary consultant next month. Eliza's done a good job laying groundwork, but Tyler's going to bring Harvard-level strategy to your account. The table went quiet. Michael looked at me, then back at Warren. This is the first I'm hearing about any change, Michael said. Warren's smile didn't waver. Just a standard staffing adjustment. Nothing to be concerned about. Actually, Michael said, our contract specifically names Eliza as our consultant. We'd need to approve any change. Warren's eyes darted to me. Well, that's a minor technicality. Eliza was just about to speak with you about it. Weren't you, Eliza? Every eye turned to me. In that moment, I saw my future split in two directions. I could lie, preserve my job, and lose my self-respect. Or I could tell the truth and face whatever came. No, I said quietly. I wasn't. Warren's face flushed dark red. Excuse us, he said to the table, standing. Eliza, a word. He led me to a quiet corner near the hotel's service entrance, just off the main ballroom but still within sight of some tables. I clutched my award, suddenly aware of how fragile it was. What the hell do you think you're doing? He hissed. My job, I said, serving my client's best interests. Your job is to do what I tell you to do. I built this company. I decide who handles what accounts. Warren, Tyler isn't ready. He doesn't know the first thing about. He's twice as qualified as you were when you started. Harvard Business School, Eliza. What did you bring? A theater degree and daddy issues? I felt heat rise in my face. I brought in the Landon account when nobody thought I could. I built that relationship from nothing. And now you're trying to sabotage this company because you're too selfish to be a team player. I'm not giving up my client to your nepotism hire, I said, my voice finally breaking. Find Tyler his own accounts to learn on. Warren stepped closer, lowering his voice. I know what you did. You went behind my back to Michael. You poisoned him against Tyler. I told him the truth. Warren grabbed my wrist, the one holding my award. You ungrateful little bitch, he said, and yanked the award from my hand. Before I could react, he threw it to the floor where it shattered with a crash that seemed to echo through the entire ballroom. You're finished here, he said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. I stood frozen, staring at the broken pieces reflecting the light. Everything went silent. When I looked up, Michael Landon was watching from our table, his expression grim. Warren stormed back to the table. I couldn't move. A hotel staff member appeared with a dustpan, looking embarrassed for me as she swept up the shards of glass. I'm so sorry, I whispered to her, as if the mess were my fault. I didn't return to the table. I couldn't bear to sit there pretending nothing had happened. Instead, I went to the coat check, got my things, and called a rideshare. As I waited outside in the cold, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael Landon. Call me tomorrow. This isn't over. I spent that night crying, then raging, then finally around 3 a.m. plotting, because Michael was right. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Morning came with crystal clarity. I'd slept maybe 2 hours total, but my mind was sharper than it had been in months. The path forward wasn't just clear, it was inevitable. I called Michael at exactly 8:30 a.m. I saw everything, he said before I could speak. Are you okay? Physically, yes, I answered honestly. Professionally, I don't know yet. What Warren did was assault, Michael said. There were witnesses. It's his company, I said. His name is literally on the building. Michael was quiet for a moment. Not on our contract, though. Our contract is with your team specifically. We talked for another 40 minutes. By the end, I had a plan. Not just for survival, but for something more. Something better. At 10 a.m. sharp, I walked into Meridian's offices. Heads turned as I passed. News travels fast, especially bad news. I went straight to my office and began working as if nothing had happened. At 10:17, Warren's assistant came to my door. He wants to see you, she said quietly. Her eyes were sympathetic. Warren was waiting behind his desk. Tyler sitting in one of the visitor chairs like this was some kind of tribunal. Close the door, Warren said. I did, then remained standing. Your behavior last night was unacceptable, Warren began. You embarrassed this company in front of a major client. I said nothing. However, he continued, I'm willing to be generous. Clean out your personal items today. We'll pay 2 weeks severance if you sign an NDA and non-disparagement agreement. I looked at him, then at Tyler, who couldn't quite meet my eyes. That's your offer? I finally asked. It's more than fair considering your insubordination, Warren said. Frankly, I'd be within my rights to fire you with nothing. I nodded slowly. I have a counteroffer. Warren's eyebrows rose. This isn't a negotiation. I resign effective immediately, I said. No severance needed, but I'll need signed documentation that I'm leaving voluntarily, with no termination on my record. Warren looked suspicious. Why would you want that? Professional courtesy, I said. I'd like to leave with my reputation intact. Warren seemed surprised by my capitulation, but quickly recovered. Fine. HR will prepare the paperwork. One more thing, I said. I need written acknowledgement that all client relationships I've personally developed belong to the firm, not to me individually. Now Warren smiled. Absolutely. I'm glad you understand how this business works, even at the end. I signed the resignation papers an hour later. By noon, I'd cleared out my office, said goodbye to a few colleagues, and walked out the front door for the last time. What Warren didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that I wasn't leaving with nothing. I was leaving with everything that mattered. That morning, before coming to the office, I'd sent 11 carefully crafted emails to my personal contacts at each of my client companies. Not Meridian Company emails, personal notes from my private account to theirs, many of which I'd collected over lunches, conferences, and after-hours events. These weren't solicitation emails. I didn't ask them to follow me or suggest they leave Meridian. That would have violated my employment contract. Instead, I simply informed them I was leaving the company and thanked them for our professional relationship. I included my personal phone number, in case you ever want to catch up over coffee. 7 of them called me before the end of the day. While Warren thought I was cleaning out my desk, I was actually taking calls in the stairwell, explaining to concerned clients that, no, nothing was wrong, just seeking new opportunities. Michael Landon was the last call of the day. It's done, I told him. I'm officially unemployed. For about 5 more minutes, he replied. I just got off the phone with our attorney. We're invoking the key personnel clause in our contract with Meridian. You were specifically named. If you're not there, we have the right to terminate without penalty. I took a deep breath. Are you sure about this? Completely, Michael said. But there's more. I've spoken with Catherine and the board. We want to bring our consulting in-house. We're creating a position, Director of Client Strategy. The job is yours if you want it. My hands were shaking as I gripped the phone. Michael, that's incredibly generous. It's not generosity, Eliza. It's business. You're the best at what you do, and now they've let you go. Their loss, our gain. The salary he named was 60% higher than what I'd been making. There's a signing bonus too, he added. We'll need you to start immediately since we're terminating with Meridian. I leaned against the stairwell wall, my legs suddenly weak. When do you need an answer? Take the weekend, he said. But Eliza? Our termination letter goes to Warren Monday morning either way. 3 days later, I sat in Michael's office signing my employment contract. As I finished the last page, his assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Landon? Mr. Keller is on line 1. He says it's urgent. Michael smiled at me. Would you like to step out for this? Actually, I said, I'd like to stay if that's all right. Michael put the call on speakerphone. Michael, Warren's voice boomed with false cheer. I wanted to personally reach out about this termination notice. There must be some misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Warren, Michael replied calmly. Your firm no longer employs the individual named in our contract, so we're exercising our rights under Section 12. We can easily amend the contract, Warren said. Tyler's fully up to speed on your account and ready to. That won't be necessary, Michael interrupted. We've decided to take our consulting in-house. There was a pause. In-house? Warren's voice had lost some of its confidence. Michael, we've built a strong relationship over the past 3 years. One personnel change doesn't. It wasn't the personnel change, Warren. It was how you handled it. Breaking an award in front of my wife and me? Physically grabbing your employee? That's not how we do business with our partners. That's... There's been some exaggeration of events. Warren stammered. Eliza was being difficult about a routine staffing change, and things got heated. I admit I lost my temper, but we saw everything, Michael said firmly. The termination is effective immediately. You'll receive the official paperwork shortly. After he hung up, Michael looked at me. $2 million a year. Gone just like that. Plus the referrals you brought them. I wonder how Warren's going to explain that to his partners. I learned later that the Landon account had represented nearly 18% of Meridian's annual revenue. The 2 additional clients I'd secured through Michael's referrals added another 5%. But the real damage came after. Remember those 7 clients who called me the day I left? Within 3 months, 4 of them had found reasons to terminate their contracts with Meridian. None came directly to me. That would have violated my non-compete. But they found other consultants, other firms. It wasn't just about losing my accounts. It was about Warren's reputation. The story spread through our industry's tight-knit community. Not as gossip, but as a cautionary tale whispered at networking events and industry conferences. Be careful with Warren Keller. Remember what happened with the Landon account. 6 months after the gala, I was settling into my new role at Landon. I had an office with a view, a small team of my own, and the security of knowing my work was valued. My theater degree, the one Warren had mocked, turned out to be perfect preparation for understanding market narratives and brand storytelling. That's when I got an unexpected LinkedIn message from Warren's former assistant. Thought you might want to know, Warren's out. The partners forced him to step down after Q3 numbers came in. Too many lost accounts. Tyler's gone too. I didn't reply, but I did allow myself one small smile. A year to the day after the gala incident, Michael called me into his office. We're having a small ceremony next week, he said. Board members, key leadership, nothing elaborate. What's the occasion? I asked. He slid a box across his desk. Inside was a glass award, similar to the one Warren had shattered, but higher quality. It read, Eliza Reeves, Director of Strategic Partnerships, for exceptional leadership and integrity. The best revenge isn't about hurting those who hurt you, Michael said. It's about building something better from the ruins they leave behind. I ran my fingers over the etched glass. I never set out for revenge. No, Michael smiled. You just stood your ground. Sometimes that's enough to change everything. 2 years have passed since that night at the gala. Meridian Consulting still exists, but they've downsized significantly. Warren started his own boutique firm, but without his former company's resources and reputation, he's struggling to gain traction. Tyler works there too, still learning the business, still making promises his skills can't fulfill. Meanwhile, I was promoted to vice president at Landon last quarter. My team has grown from 3 people to 12. We've expanded our in-house capabilities so much that we rarely use outside consultants anymore. Sometimes I wonder if Warren knows it was me, that my quiet exit, not some dramatic confrontation, was what ultimately cost him everything. That by trying to take what wasn't his to claim, he lost what he already had. The truth is, I didn't have to destroy Warren. All I had to do was remove his ability to take credit for my work, and his own inadequacy did the rest. The night Warren smashed my award, he thought he was showing his power. What he really revealed was his weakness, his insecurity, his need to publicly humiliate someone he felt threatened by. I didn't fight back in that moment. I didn't need to. I just needed to recognize my own value and refuse to give it away. That's the thing about people like Warren. They don't actually build things. They just position themselves to profit from what others build. Remove the builders, and their whole structure collapses. Last month, I was speaking at an industry conference when I spotted Warren in the audience. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. Our eyes met briefly. He was the first to look away. I didn't feel triumph in that moment. I felt something quieter, more powerful, peace. The knowledge that I had rebuilt myself from the broken pieces he'd left behind, and created something stronger than before. The lesson I learned wasn't about revenge. It was about resilience, about recognizing when to walk away from a battle so you can ultimately win the war. About understanding that sometimes your greatest power lies not in fighting back, but in simply refusing to play by someone else's rules. Warren took my award and smashed it on the floor because he thought symbols of achievement were what gave me value. He never understood that the real achievement wasn't the glass trophy. It was the work, the relationships, the trust I had built, and those couldn't be broken with one angry gesture. Sometimes I think about that alternate version of myself, the one who stayed at Meridian, who handed over her client to Tyler, who shrunk herself to fit into Warren's vision of her worth. That woman might still have her office, might still have her parking spot, but she wouldn't have her dignity. She wouldn't have discovered what she was truly capable of building on her own terms. So if you're watching this and feeling trapped in a situation where someone else is determining your value, where your work is being claimed or your achievements diminished, remember my story. Remember that sometimes walking away isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the first step toward building something better. The moment Warren smashed my award was the moment he lost everything he valued. He just didn't know it yet. Have you ever had a moment when someone's attempt to hurt you actually set you free? Or when losing something you thought you needed turned out to be the best thing that could have happened? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please subscribe. I'll be sharing more insights from my journey from theater major to VP, including the 3 conversations that changed my career and the 1 client meeting tactic that has never failed me. Remember, the most important career skill isn't technical expertise or even relationship building. It's recognizing your own value and having the courage to walk away when others don't.